Iron legacy where history lives. The smell of gunpowder fills the air, commands echo across the battlefield, and the deafening sound of cannons reverberates throughout the valley. It is May 10th, 1796. The narrow, poorly constructed Lodi Bridge stretches over the Adda River, separating Napoleon's French army from the entrenched Austrian forces on the opposite side. The situation is critical. The soldiers hesitate to advance under intense artillery fire. But then, a distinct figure emerges at the front of the troops, the young General Napoleon Bonaparte. Amid the chaos, his presence is unmistakable. He is not merely commanding from a distance, as many officers would. Napoleon is on the front line, sword in hand, urging his men forward. He is the very embodiment of courage and determination. With a decisive gesture, Napoleon orders a direct assault on the bridge, a move that few leaders would dare to make at that moment. Bullets cut through the air around him. Some soldiers fall, but others, inspired by their leader's boldness, press on, driven by a mix of fear and honor. Lodi Bridge becomes, in that instant, the scene of a fierce clash, where courage and desperation intertwine. This is Napoleon's first major test of leadership, and the outcome will be decisive for the future of the Italian campaign. In 1796, Europe was engulfed in the French Revolutionary Wars. France, having undergone a profound revolution just a few years earlier, was facing a coalition of European monarchies determined to crush the new Republican regime. The First Italian Campaign was part of the French effort to break this coalition and consolidate its influence on the continent. It was in this chaotic and conflict-ridden setting that Napoleon Bonaparte, just 26 years old, was appointed commander of the Army of Italy. The selection of such a young and relatively unknown general for a mission of such importance surprised many, but Napoleon had a crucial advantage. He understood the power of speed and mobility in modern warfare. To him, victory meant not only outnumbering the enemy, but also outpacing and outmaneuvering them. The army Napoleon inherited was in poor condition, poorly equipped, and with low morale. Many soldiers had lost hope of achieving a significant victory after years of defeats and resource shortages. However, Napoleon saw Italy not as a mere secondary front, but as an opportunity to prove his worth as a military leader and reshape the European war landscape. As Napoleon mobilized his forces, the geopolitical situation in Italy was complex. Austria maintained a strong presence, defending its territories in Lombardy, while the smaller Italian states were divided between alliances and mutual distrust. Lodi would thus become the first major test for the new tactics Napoleon was eager to implement, a blend of speed, decisiveness, and relentless assault. Shortly after taking command, Napoleon began to implement a different style of warfare: aggressive mobility. Instead of focusing on defensive positions or waiting for reinforcements, he chose to keep the troops in constant motion. His logic was simple. Speed creates surprise, and surprise breeds chaos among the enemy. This was the approach he applied when planning the assault on the city of Lodi. Napoleon knew that the Austrians, led by General Beaulieu, did not expect such a swift offensive. They were still regrouping their forces after a series of initial defeats at Montanate and Dago. Napoleon's plan was to reach the Lodi Bridge before the Austrian army could fully position itself for defense, securing a strategic and psychological advantage. The French march to Lodi was a display of discipline and determination. If you're enjoying this journey through Napoleon's history, don't forget to leave a like, comment on what has caught your attention so far, and, of course, subscribe to the channel. It helps us bring more detailed historical content like this one. Let's build the Iron Legacy together. Napoleon kept the troops in continuous motion, taking advantage of secondary roads and using the local geography to accelerate the advance. The troops, motivated by the promise of plunder and glory, followed eagerly despite exhaustion and a lack of adequate supplies. As they approached Lodi, Napoleon observed that the Austrians were positioning their artillery on the opposite side of the Adda River, preparing for a stubborn defense. The challenge was now clear. The Lodi Bridge was the only direct route to cross the river, and the French would need to face it head-on under heavy fire. Napoleon knew that the upcoming battle would require firm leadership and a decisive assault, qualities he was ready to demonstrate at any cost. With the French forces aligned and the enemy well entrenched, Napoleon knew that a direct assault would be risky but necessary to cross the Adda River and maintain the momentum of the campaign. The Lodi Bridge, narrow and long, was under heavy bombardment from Austrian artillery, making every step deadly. The decisive moment had arrived. Napoleon ordered his artillery to position itself to neutralize the enemy guns and provide cover for the advance. As the French cannons began responding to Austrian fire, Napoleon himself organized the infantry attack into compact columns, increasing the pressure on the bridge. He was not only coordinating the troops but also inspiring courage by being at the front line, urging his soldiers to push forward despite the casualties. The initial advance met fierce resistance, with the Austrians unleashing a hail of bullets on the French soldiers. Many fell, hesitating to continue the advance. However, Napoleon's presence, as he even raised the flag to motivate his men, reignited the courage among the French. Driven by their commander's determination, an elite group, the Carabiniers, led the attack, followed by grenadiers with fixed bayonets, ready for close combat. Finally, after brutal fighting on the narrow wooden bridge, the French managed to break through the Austrian defensive line. The soldiers advanced quickly, pushing the enemy back and forcing the Austrians into a hasty retreat. The battle for the Lodi Bridge was won, but not without a significant cost in French lives, creating a mix of celebration for the victory and mourning for the losses. The success at Lodi was not only tactical but also symbolic. The bravery demonstrated on the bridge fostered a sense of invincibility among the French soldiers and strengthened Napoleon's image as a fearless leader, willing to risk everything for a decisive victory. The victory at Lodi not only secured a strategic position in the Italian campaign, but also had a profound psychological impact on both the French troops and Napoleon himself. For the soldiers, the success of crossing the bridge under heavy fire confirmed their belief that they were under the command of an exceptional leader, one who not only guided with strategy, but also inspired with personal courage. Lodi became more than just a battle won. It transformed into a symbol of bravery and unity between the troops and their commander. On the Austrian side, the outcome at Lodi was a blow to morale. The hasty retreat and the losses suffered during the battle made it clear that Napoleon was no ordinary commander, and that his tactics of speed and aggression were changing the course of the war. Austrian commanders realized they were facing an opponent willing to take high risks to achieve victory. For Napoleon, the Battle of Lodi was a personal milestone. He began to see himself as a leader destined for great feats, something he would later refer to as his baptism of fire. The confidence he gained at Lodi would influence his approach in future battles, solidifying the foundation of his offensive and swift style, which would become a hallmark in subsequent campaigns. This victory boosted the morale of the entire French army, which, now motivated, was more willing to follow Napoleon into bold maneuvers and tough battles. More than that, it attracted the attention of the French press, which began to portray Napoleon as a rising national hero, increasing his political and military prestige. The Battle of Lodi was more than just a victorious clash. It symbolized the inauguration of a new style of warfare, marked by tactics that would define the Napoleonic era. Before Lodi, military campaigns tended to be slow, based on more defensive maneuvers and prolonged sieges. With Napoleon, this logic was transformed into an aggressive and rapid approach, emphasizing troop mobility, decisive attacks, and the use of strategic surprise. Napoleon realized that the key to defeating his enemies lay in overcoming the rigidity of traditional formations with bold and unexpected maneuvers. Lodi was a testing ground for this approach. The speed of the French advance, the precise use of artillery to create breaches, and the concentrated assault on the bridge demonstrated how it was possible to dominate the battlefield with swift, well-coordinated actions. This new style of warfare not only redefined combat tactics, but also influenced logistics and strategy on a broader level. Napoleon began to emphasize the importance of keeping his troops light, without relying on extended supply lines, allowing the French army to move quickly through enemy territory, always one step ahead. Lodi also highlighted Napoleon's ability to inspire his soldiers to face adverse situations. His skill in clearly and directly communicating his objectives, along with his willingness to be at the front line, instilled a confidence that resonated with his troops. The soldiers felt that they were part of something greater than just a campaign. They were shaping the destiny of a new era, led by a commander with a unique vision of victory. The Battle of Lodi, therefore, not only confirmed Napoleon's tactical superiority, but also marked the starting point for a series of campaigns that would bring Europe under French control in the following years. It was here that Napoleon's Lightning War began to take shape, establishing the model for his future victories. The victory at Lodi was a turning point in Napoleon's military career, solidifying his image not only as an efficient commander, but also as an innovative strategist and charismatic leader. This battle became a landmark in the narrative of his rise, serving as proof of his ability to turn challenges into opportunities and inspire loyalty and bravery in his soldiers. The psychological impact of Lodi also resonated on the French political scene. The press, captivated by the young general's boldness, began to build the myth of Napoleon as the Republic's hero, a leader capable of achieving improbable victories and strengthening the revolutionary spirit. This image was crucial for Napoleon, who used the prestige gained at Lodi to secure further political support and military resources, paving the way for his future successes. Militarily, Lodi was not Napoleon's largest battle, but it was the first to showcase the characteristics that would define his later campaigns: speed, surprise, and the ability to make bold decisions amid chaos. The new style of warfare that Napoleon began to develop at Lodi not only revolutionized the way he conducted his campaigns, but also influenced the evolution of military strategy in the centuries to come, introducing concepts of warfare that would be adopted by modern armies. Ultimately, Lodi left a lasting legacy in both military and popular imagination. For Napoleon, the battle was proof that audacity and innovation could overcome even the most well-established defenses. For history, Lodi became an example of how a commander can turn an unfavorable situation into a strategic victory that resonates far beyond the battlefield. Before we wrap up, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss upcoming episodes about Napoleon's campaigns and other key events in ancient history. Your subscription is essential to keep this project alive and continue exploring the legacy of the great leaders of the past together.